Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Right. So, hi, everyone. There's a little confusion for me in this course, because at this point, it's not clear what order Geshe Michael taught class 6 and class 7 in. The homework's in one order. The audios are in a different order, and I think the audios are correct and the homework's not. But I decided to teach it in the order of the homeworks because I think there's some logic to it that way. So maybe you could think to yourself, what's the logic of teaching these two classes in the order that I'm teaching it now versus the opposite order, the way it was, what I believe is originally taught. That's for you guys to figure out. It's one of those things that, like, you wonder why teachers do certain things. Like, you could ask Geshe Michael, why did you do this? And he'll be like, what are you talking about? It was like 30 years ago. But there's always a reason why teachers do things. And sometimes the teachers don't know and the students make up the meaning, and then it's important for them. Get it? Because you're making up the meaning anyway. So we have two more classes to talk about the Vinaya, and then we're going to move into Lam Rim, which are all the steps on the path, which is it's a short Lam Rim by Jason Kappa called it's from the Song of His Spiritual Life. And it's a really beautiful piece where he reveals a bit of his own practice, which he rarely does. Like, he talks always talking about other people's practice, talking about the scriptures and all that other stuff, but rarely does he talk about his own. And in this particular Lam Rim, he does. And there's this cool thing that when you move into the advanced teachings, the first 3 courses after the 18 courses is a Lam Rim called Delam. Sorry, hold on. I leave my phone and alarm far enough away from my bed and everything and loud enough that I have to get up. And anyway, sorry about that. So in the Lam Rim that we teach in the beginning of the advanced courses, Delam, the Path to Bliss by the first Panchen Lama. The way that Geshe Michael taught this course, and in fact, you can find pieces of that course on the knowledge base if you would like to sneak ahead. You can go find snippets of it. And the way that he taught that course was it was a huge honor for his teacher. So he taught that Lam Rim based on the way that he saw his teacher living the Lam Rim. So what he did was, instead of just saying, oh, well, here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3, he exemplified each of those steps in the way that he observed his teacher living them, and the way that his teacher embodied the teachings. And so it's a tradition that when you teach that course, some people teach the course the way that Geshe Michael taught it, and then tell all the stories about Ken Rinpoche, which is a beautiful way of teaching that course. But the way that I think the course could be taught is that it gets taught from the point of view of whomever's teaching it, from their teacher. So let's say if I were to ever teach that course, I would find the living Lam Rim in my teacher, and how does my teacher exemplify each of those steps? How did they teach those steps? How did they encourage me to have each of those realizations on the path? So it becomes a really intimate course. And it should be, because the Diamond Way teachings are about, in a lot of ways, are about your relationship with your teacher and how your teacher can be the vehicle, the guide to reaching those highest goals in one lifetime, not in like eons or like 20 billion lifetimes. It's like right now. You can do it right now if you have the understandings of karma and emptiness, which is why we're studying Vinaya. Okay. Yeah, I saw people are like, where's Tim going with this? Yes. It's because in order for any of that to work, in order for Lam Rim to work, there's both the shared path and the unshared path. Okay. The shared path meaning the open teachings, the unshared path meaning the secret teachings. In order for any of that to work, you have to have a deep understanding of karma and emptiness. And then know how it works in your life. How does it work in, most specifically, when you're having an affliction, when you're upset, when you are having some irritating person in your life, what do you do? What do you do? And there's this thing that happens with people is they're like, oh, Lama, I want initiation. Oh, I hear there's this teacher coming. Oh, should I get this initiation? Oh, please teach me the highest teachings. Okay. Stop asking your teacher those silly questions and come to Vinaya. Okay. They're silly questions. Why? For $100. It's 6:09. I'm offering $100 at 6 minutes, still dark o'clock. Why is it a stupid question? By the way, in parentheses, it's not a stupid question. Sarah, go for it.
Because what you think are the highest teachings won't work for you unless you already have the karma for it to work. So you need to start with the basics.
Okay, that's a $50 answer. You're close. That's pretty close. Let's add to it. Actually, I'll give you 75 and I give Yashang the 25 to finish it up. Okay. So the power of an initiation, the power of Tantra, the power of anything that you do is not in the thing itself. It's not even in the Vinaya itself. Okay. There's no power. Okay. We're in the middle of the course. All the people who weren't interested left anyway. So we have 75 people. Okay. All right. So here's the real thing. There's no vow, there's no commitment that has power in itself. None of it. Yet still exhibits a dependence upon cause and effect. And those two things are not contradictory whatsoever. So if you want financial freedom, or let's say, if you just want things to, when you need them to appear, okay, Just be generous. Be generous. Okay. Give what you have. Rather, more subtly, give what people need. Okay. What do people need? And then give it to them. And then understand the emptiness of it. Think about the emptiness of it. Think about how, if I give you a pen, like, is this a pen from its own side? No. It's a pen because I have a seed to see it as a pen, and then I give the pen to somebody else. Oh, is that other person who they look like they are? If I give this pen to Sarah, by the way, Sarah Yashang, send me your PayPal, please. And I will forward you. And if it's your responsibility, if you don't send it to me, I won't give you the money because I won't remember. So if I give this to Sarah, is Sarah who Sarah looks like she is? And the question is, well, to whom? Who is Sarah? Right? Sarah is Sarah to whom, to the person who's looking at her. Okay. How many Sarahs are there? Well, how many people are looking at Sarah? Right? That's the emptiness of Sarah. I'm still giving it to her. I still have a pen. Here you go, Sarah. Yay. Right? Sarah gets the pen. Right? But understanding that, and also understanding giving, like the giving. Like, is it an act of giving? To whom? To me, I'm giving the pen to Sarah. It looks like giving. The karma's opening up for giving. Something I have that I give to Sarah. But is it giving from its own side? Is there a possibility that some other being could be seeing something else? Maybe they don't see giving. Maybe they see an begrudgingly hostile Tim being like, well, whatever, Sarah, just take the damn pen. Right? You know, then I hand out the pen and Sarah takes it out of my hand. I'm giving. The other person sees Sarah taking. Which one is it? Right? The answer is to whom? So these two things come together, the idea of cause and effect and their emptiness, and they're not contradictory. There's no power in the giving from its own side, yet exhibits a dependence upon cause and effect. That me, the giver, have planted a seed to see more generosity. And if I load it up with, I'm giving Sarah the pen because Sarah needs the pen. Don't give Sarah pens if she doesn't want pens. Don't give Sarah a glass of water if she doesn't want a glass. Don't follow her around with water if Sarah has a water bottle in her hand. That's annoying. Can you imagine like how annoying it is if someone follow you around with a glass of water? Like, no. Sarah has water. She's okay. But Sarah needs a pen. I'm not making jokes, guys. I'm making jokes. But it's not a joke. Like, if you give her what she needs, then you're planting seeds for things to appear when you need them. For somebody to be there for you when you are in need. Okay. It also plants seeds for communication and lots of other things too. But that's the point of the Vinaya, is if we understand the deeper causes of things, which have emptiness too, which are not coming from their own side. And if you can hold that space, then you start creating the karma just for Vajrayana to happen to you. If you're looking for magic in your life, don't go to the next Vajrayana teacher and be like, oh, I want initiation. Or You get initiation, and then you do your sadhana practice for 10 years, and then nothing happens. And people come to me often, they're like, my practice isn't working. Oh, there's no magic in your life anymore. No. Oh, okay. What are you doing? And then they're not even doing their book practice. They're not even observing the basic 10 non-virtues. Okay. Well, go back to that. Understand that foundation. Then the rest just works. It's really cool. You know, if you have a lack of magic in your life, go back to the Vinaya. Go back to see where maybe certain things aren't working for you. Maybe you have some jealousy that you're just not paying attention to. Maybe you have some pride that you're not paying attention to. Maybe you have some judgments in your mind that you're not paying attention to. Maybe you're just a little bit happy when people suffer. That's awful. Maybe you're not happy when people get the things that they want. I don't know. Go look in the whole point of this is to create a toolbox for you to understand. There's two things you can understand by analyzing your behavior. Okay. Someone asked me once, who was I in a past life? I was like, I was like, you know, I can't see past lives. But I was like, And the answer to that question is, well, the person that you were in a past life, all you need to do is look at who you are today. Look at the good and the bad in your life. And that will tell you who you were in a past life. Get it? You don't need some magic, mystical Lama to tell you who you were. Just look at your life. And then you can say, well, in a past life, I must have done those things. Every irritating person you meet is an indicator of your past life. Every good person you meet is an indicator of your past life. Okay. Every struggle that you have, every immovable, impossible situation that you face that you can't solve, either conventionally or with karma, which you are solving it with karma, but you're sometimes things are super strong and they take a long time to change. That's an indicator of who you were. It's called cause and effect. But the beauty of that is then you can also go, well, who do I want to be? Like, you can do all the analysis of who you were. That's great. And it's good to do that sometimes. It's good to understand, like, but understanding is not guilt. Like, who was I in a past life? Well, I don't know. What kind of shit did you do in your past life? I don't know. But look at this one and it'll probably indicate it. But don't feel guilty about it. You weren't you in that life. And that's another thing you have to think about. Yes, you're a string of causes and conditions, causes and results, fine. But don't get upset about something that happened in a billion lifetimes ago. Okay, fine. You're going to feel guilty about it and not get out of bed? Okay, sure, you can do that. Or you can look forward and say, all right, well, if that was the case, logically it had to have been that. So I'm just not going to do that anymore. I'm going to stop that today. I'm going to stop being judgmental. Okay. I'm going to reduce my judgmentality. Okay. I'm going to catch myself judging to reduce it. Okay. Don't say you're never going to judge again. That's setting yourself up for failure. But bit by bit, things will change. What problem of the day do you have? What irritating person do you have? What world is appearing to me today? All right. Now, how am I going to be different? How am I going to put the small pieces into place now? So really, it becomes when you're, okay, here we go. So when you're doing, let's say, like trauma-informed therapy, or you are engaged in any kind of psychology therapy or psychiatrist, or working with a psychiatrist or anything like that, change doesn't really happen until you fully accept what happened, right? Until you fully accept and arrive at a kind of peace about whatever trauma happened to you, whatever thing happened to you in this lifetime. Because as long as you're carrying it still and are not at peace with it, then it still has a power. It still is active. And if you can take that idea, out of the therapeutic realm, and then you sit there with yourself and you're saying, okay, today, this is today. Today is coming from before. All the things that happened before, things that happened to me that I couldn't control, things that I chose to do. Like yesterday, I was talking to someone about their 25-year-old daughter is, what's the word I'm looking for? The word in English is estranged, has kind of cut themselves off from their mother. They don't want anything to do with their mother anymore. And she was really upset. And I said, well, what happened? And she said, well, she's upset with me because I divorced my husband 10 years ago. And I said, oh, and so I just listened, and I didn't even ask questions. And then she told me that she had had an affair while she was with her husband, and her daughter hasn't forgiven her and thinks that the affair was the cause for the breakup, which is much more complicated and subtle than that. And I asked her, I said, well, did you make the right decision to get divorced? And she said, 100%. And I said, would you have done it the same way that you did it last time? And she said, no, I wouldn't have done it. I won't do it that way again. But she did it that way, right? She started the exit ramp with an affair. Like that was the way that it started. Okay. And so we were just talking, and I said, well, look, well, how do you see your daughter now? And she goes, well, I love her so much. It's just the pain of the distance. And I just said, well, what's more painful to you? Like, can you accept where things are now and then work to repair? Or are you still feeling guilty about something you did 10 years ago? And she's kind of at that edge where she's accepting all the choices that she made and all the things that happened to her that weren't choices, that just happened. And now she's like, okay, now I can move on. Like she's almost at a place where then she can start repairing that relationship. Now, whether her daughter wants to repair it or not is a different story. But the way that she's acting towards her daughter now is that she doesn't hate her. She's not upset with her. She's not frustrated that the situation is this way. She's not blaming herself that her daughter has cut her off. Right? Because her daughter also made choices. Her daughter chose, or her karma forced her to see the situation the way she sees it. That her mom caused all of her pain in her life because of the divorce. You know, and she's growing up into becoming a very beautiful, independent person. And a lot of the challenges between the two is that they were, because after the divorce, they became emotionally entangled, the two of them. So emotionally entangled that it was like a codependent. It was ripe to explode, and it did. But if you can accept, like, come to full peaceful acceptance of the way things are now, which is something that an arhat would do, right? And not get upset about it, then you can then completely design the future that happens to you. Because then you know the causes to put into place. And that's the point of Vinaya. That's the point of, let's understand all of those intertwinings. And then you have a power that you never thought possible. So now we're going to dive in a little bit more. Nice background, Francisco. Appreciate it. All right. All right, here we go. So we're in technically class 6. So there's all these, now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of things. The next 2 classes have a lot of detail that's very Vinaya specific. Okay. And there's some reasons for these things. I don't know all the reasons. It's never really been taught. I've looked around for them. I've listened to every different class on this. So some of the stuff, I'm just telling you the information because here's the information. We can debate it later. Okay. That's just a little warning. Okay. So the kind of class starts in a negative way. It's like, all right, so we've talked about who can take these vows. Okay, who can take the vows? And then there's a logical question. Well, if there's people who can, who are the people who cannot? Okay, who are the people that cannot take the vows? And I think some of these things have to do with protecting the culture of monastic life, not so much that the people themselves can't take vows. Some of them have to do with that. Some of them don't have to do with it. So let's investigate, and you guys can maybe debate it. Okay. So the first type of person who cannot take the vows. So, okay, what are we doing here? In Buddhist cosmology, they believe that in the Abhidharma Kosha, that there's four continents on the earth, on the planet. Okay. And this is kind of a representation of them. We know that there's 6 or 7, or depending how you look at it, continents on the planet, our planet, right? But in each of those different continents, there are different types. The beings have slightly different lives. And there's one particular continent, it's the southern one, I believe. Yes. I believe it's this other one. I don't know. Called unpleasant sound. And the humans that live there cannot take Vinaya vows. Why? The beings that live there, which I don't know where it is, but maybe we can find it someday. Okay. The beings that live there live a very long but fixed lifetime. Like they don't get sick like we do, or have random, like, you could die from, all the way from like the day of conception, right? Like the fetus doesn't survive through a couple divisions of cells up and through 110-ish years. Okay, somewhere in that range from conception to 110, you can die of, we did this course, of anything, lots of things. There's lots of dangerous things. I almost killed a guy last night driving. He was riding a scooter and it had just gotten dark, and I was pulling out and I didn't see him coming across on the sidewalk. And he was coming at full speed and I heard him yell. And then I saw it because it was dark and there was shadow. So I didn't see it because I was looking for headlights, right? Yeah, almost killed the guy. It was about this far away, right? That would have been an interesting evening. But yeah, things can kill you all the time. You can kill things all the time. So, but apparently on this continent, which I don't know where it is, but we'll go find them someday. These beings they live long lives. And it's called unpleasant sound because right before they die, they hear some noise or someone tells them you're going to die. And then they die. Okay, so they just hear some unpleasant sound like, oh, you're going to die tomorrow, and then you die. Like that's how they live. So why can't they take Vinaya vows? Bhakti moksha vows, freedom vows. What's the motivation behind the bhakti moksha vows? What's the motivation? Oh my God, you guys don't know the motivation? Yes. In plain English, it means to get out of your own suffering. In plain words, renunciation. You want to get out. You have a kind of renunciation, because if you understand that you could die right after the sperm and egg meet up until 110 years old for no reason at all, right? There's a tremendous amount of suffering that we have, and these beings don't have that suffering. And so they don't have the motivation. They don't have the motivation to get out. There's no reason. They live a long time and then they just die. Right? And they probably don't even notice that each other dies. I don't know. It's something I don't understand. But I think the whole point of it is not whether or not those beings exist or that continent exists. I think the point is a healthy dose of suffering can motivate you to get out of samsara, can motivate you to do something to change things, motivate you to what caused that suffering. Okay, well, these things must have caused that suffering, and I need to change that. And that's what this is about. Okay, I had fun with this one because I do. The second reason, kind of person that can't take vows are people who are impotent. Get it? Come on. There we go. There we go. There you all are. Okay. Okay. People who are impotent. Get it? Deflated balloon. It doesn't work. All right. There's something about their sexual energy that they're not able to engage their sexual energy. It doesn't work. And it's not just for men, but for anybody, impotent people. It just doesn't work. Okay. And there's something in the Abhidharma that they spend a long time talking about the sexual energies and the male and female energies and things like that, and explain it significantly. So, oh, I used the preview. I'm sorry. I have to go by that. I'm sorry. I have to update this PowerPoint because it has all the watermarks on it. I'm sorry. So the point is that somehow having a functional sexual energy is a prerequisite to take the freedom vows. I don't really understand why. And I don't 100% personally, don't 100% agree with it entirely, like, but we can investigate it. All right. Third type of person who cannot take Vinaya vows are neuters. Okay. I chose this picture. Like when you take your dog or cat to the vet so they can't reproduce. Right. And so after the surgery, they put this cone on the dog so the dog can't lick itself while it's healing. Right. So a neuter is it's similar to someone who's impotent, that there's something maybe missing from, like, we talked about it last class about like a class of people that the men their testicles are cut off and then they guard the queen for the rest of their life. That's their job, right? So the idea is to protect the queen, that they're protecting the queen's life, but they don't have desire for her. That's the thought behind it, I guess. Okay. So there's something about those types of people who can't take vows. Again, I don't agree entirely with that because there's so many different experiences that people have in life, and there's so many different reasons why people have things happen to them. Right? So I don't want you guys to get discouraged, because I think we can help all people, and I think all people have the capacity to do this. Now, maybe there's a slight disadvantage. I don't know. Maybe Abhidharma has maybe it makes it more difficult, but I don't know. If that's the worst thing in your life and everything else is good, I mean, it's probably, for some of us would be like, that might be challenging, but there's a lot of bad things that happen to people in all different ways. So I don't know. Again, I'm just reporting what the Abhidharma says. You guys can figure it out. Okay, another type of person who's not able to take the Praktimoksha vows. Can anyone guess what this picture is? It's a flower, yes. That doesn't count. What's a special feature that many flowers have? Besides being beautiful. Well, I wouldn't call a flower hermaphrodite, but what I would call a flower has both sexual organs, like has the male and the female parts together. Okay. So So they say in the Vinaya that if you have both sexual organs, that somehow the Vinaya vows don't stick as well. Someone who's I think the more official word these days is called intersex, meaning someone who has both sexual organs, and it happens to people. You know, it's rarely happens physically. It refers to the physical part, Tracy, that they're born with both physical genitalia. So again, I don't know exactly why, but that's what it says. Moving on. Here's something that's probably more relevant. Someone who's committed the 5 immediate misdeeds is kind of ineligible for the Praktimoksha vows. What are the 5? What are the 5 immediate misdeeds? Someday you guys will know all the answers to these questions. Killing your mother, killing your father, killing an arhat, attempting to draw blood from a Buddha. Nice. Luca, you should turn on your camera. It's good to see you. And then splitting up the Sangha in the time of the Buddha. It's good to see you, Luca. Okay, so if you do one of those things, it kind of makes you ineligible for the Vinaya vows, for the Praktimoksha vows. Why? What's the result of the immediate 5 deeds? Misdeeds. The immediate result is that in your next life, you go to a much lower realm. Okay. The point of the Praktimoksha vows is to achieve liberation, reach nirvana in this life. Those two things are contradictory. And apparently, that if you do one of the misdeeds, it's more powerful than your capacity to reach nirvana in this life. I guess that's what they mean. But I think it blocks you significantly. I'm not saying go out and do those things and try and see what happens. Okay. But there's probably ways to purify that. This one's a fun one. Someone else who can't take the freedom vows are imposters. And I chose the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Okay. I was thinking of like ninjas, right? Like an imposter would be someone who's taking the vows because maybe they want to learn something for their PhD dissertation, but they have no interest in the vows. They have no renunciation. Somebody who wants to get ordained just to learn all of it, but has no renunciation and no intention to practice it. They're seen as an imposter. And I was thinking about ninjas, like they use like their ninja skills to get in, and they lie about everything, and they make you feel like they're going to be a monk or a nun, but then they just leave right afterwards. Okay. And then the last person who's ineligible is someone who has wrong views. All right, 1 + 1 does not equal 3 in most cases, right? What kind of wrong views are we talking about? They don't believe in karma and emptiness, for example. All right. So all those are all the people who cannot take the vows. In theory. All right. But I honestly think that the main 10 prakti moksha vows anyone can practice. All right. And if you fall into one of the categories of the people that we mentioned, then don't worry about it. I don't like teaching this. It's what's in the book, but I don't like teaching it because it mainly doesn't really apply that much. And there's so much suffering in the world. Let's not exclude people. All right. That's probably not a capacity problem. Okay. Anyhow. So once you get your individual freedom vows, how do you lose them? This is a depressing class. Okay. All the people that can't take them. But now that you got them, how do you lose them? All right. So how do we lose them? The first one is you give them back the day after Christmas in the United States. This is what all the stores look like. All the people are in the line to return all the stuff they didn't like they got. All right. I don't know if that happens in your country, but it's ridiculous in the United States. Let's have a day of giving, but let's give it all back the next day. Okay. That's the definition of samsara. Right there. Someone gives you something nice and you don't like it and you give it away and you give it back. All right. Anyway, so you can give back your vows. All right. And it depends what kind of vows you took. No. But you can go to a Buddha statue and give them back. You can go to another monk or nun and give them back. Seems a little weird to me to give them back in some way, in some cases, because are you giving back your renunciation? Are you giving back your belief and hope that you can get out of this suffering life? I don't know. You need to think about it. But some people do give their vows back. I know a guy who gave his vows back because he fell in love with someone and wanted to get married. Okay. That's one of 253 vows. My guess is this person probably is keeping the other vows too. Okay. It's just the one. I think. I don't know. I don't know what's in that person's mind. Maybe it's a teaching. The next thing that you give your vows back, when you die, they don't carry on to your next life. All right. So when you pass on, the vows themselves die with you. Why did I choose this one again? Oh, the way that your vows are given back is if for some reason both sexual organs appear on your body at the same time. I don't know how this is possible. This is something I don't know how is possible. I mean, from a spontaneous point of view. So, but that's what it says. we're just going to move on because it's apparently it was a thing. If it's in there, it's an actual thing that the Vinaya is talking about. So there you go. You can meditate on it if you want. What's the next one? The next one is interesting. If you change your sex 3 times, then your vows are lost. All right. So this is, for those of you that don't know, this is the general flag that represents transgender rights. Okay. So apparently you're allowed to change your sex, but if you do it 3 times, then you lose your individual freedom vows. Now it's not clear whether it's on the 4th time or at the 3rd time. Okay. It's not clear. So you could be a monk and then become a nun. You could be a nun and become a monk. But if you do it 3 times, then the vows are off. So someone asked me, like, well, is it 3 times or is it 4 times? And like, my favorite answer is the Dalai Lama gives it. It's like, I'll let you know when it happens. Okay. Okay. It's not very clear either whether it, I don't know. I think we're just gonna leave it at that. So there's something, okay, so there's something. So this is where I think was an interesting discussion to have. There's something about our sexual energy and our gender energy, if you want to call it that, your masculine or your feminine energy, which both of us have, excuse me, everyone has both of them. Like, it's not like there's like, oh, because you have a penis, you have masculine energy. And because you have a vagina, you have a feminine energy. Like, that's not what that means. Okay. What it means is that, we have both of those energies in your body. And some are stronger than others at different times. And some of the point of the practices is to balance them, to balance that energy. And maybe the reason for this, for these in the Vinaya, we're saying the Vinaya, okay? We're not only Vinaya practitioners, okay? Is that maybe there's something about those energies that you need to have a kind of, that create a kind of renunciation. Right? If you have too much masculine energy or too much feminine energy, maybe there's an affliction in there. Maybe that energy causes you to do things unaware that's actually planting bad karma. That's a worthwhile place to explore. And then how do those energies play out in your culture, in your family, at work, with your partner? I can't wait to have classes on this stuff. This is interesting, right? Like, how do your masculine and feminine energies play out in relationship? What patterns do you develop with your partner? So, and are there negative seeds that could be planted in that? Maybe. Personally, I think that's part of the point, is to start investigating those energies in yourself. Like, are you from your own side naturally female, woman, feminine? Are you naturally from your own side male, masculine, right? And what do those even mean? Like we said at the other class, what does that even mean? Oh, I'm just this way. Oh, are you? Really? Well, yeah, Tim, because you got some certain body parts. You can look down and see the body parts I have, and those body parts produce certain hormones. Oh, okay, that's great. Hi, testosterone. Okay. Well, a body that doesn't have testicles also produces testosterone. My body doesn't have ovaries, but mine produces estrogen. Oh, okay. So what is it? What produces my masculinity or my femininity? Where does it come from? Hmm. Hmm. Can you do things with it? Can you change it? Can you do something different with it? And why would you want to? Hmm. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. Another way you can lose your vows is this is a fun image. Lose your core of virtue. An avocado. You lose the core of your virtue. All right. And it's not entirely clear what this means, exactly what that core is. But any kind of anger, any kind of like real serious mental afflictions can destroy this. For example, if you've ever said anything to somebody in anger and ruin the relationship, one sentence, one word can destroy a year of years of positive relationship. Same thing with your core of virtue. One terrible negative deed can ruin it all. Maybe called the 5 misdeeds. That could be something that ruins your core of virtue. All right. All right. Let's move on. What's next on my notes? Okay, so I actually have to confess that I said something the other class that is not necessarily accurate. And I just want to clarify, which actually came up in this class, which I found fascinating as I was studying, is that we had said when we talked about the different types of monks and nuns vows, there's a group called defeats. Does anyone remember the number of defeats for nuns and monks? 3, 2, 1. Nope, you don't remember it fast enough. It's 4 and 2. No, there's 4 defeats for nuns, and then there's 8 for nuns. Well, excuse me, 4 for monks, 8 for nuns. That's what I meant to say. And I thought, and I postulated that if you commit one of those 4 or 8, that you lose your Vinaya vows, that you lose the vows that you got. Because they're called defeats. You were defeated by the mental affliction and you lose your vows. Now, there's 2 different points of view on this. Okay. The Abhidharma and the Sutras say, yes, you do those 4 defeats, 8 defeats, you lose the vows. But the Kashmiri detailists, it's a subgroup, say that you don't. It's still a very heavy deed. It's still very negative. You still have to confess it. You need to confess it to everybody, but you don't lose your vows just because you did something bad. And that's what this system has followed in West China as well. Okay. In old Tibet, that's what was followed, is that you don't lose the vows if you do one of those things. Severely damaged, you planted some bad karma, but you don't just automatically lose all your vows. And I think there's a logic to that too. And you guys can think about it. Okay. And I'd ask the question this way, is like, you took vows because you wanted to get out of suffering. Does that mean that you're not going to have negative seeds ripen, including the negative seed of choosing to do something wrong? Oh, I'm never going to judge a living being again. I love all of them. I accept them. That's true. Guaranteed, I'll walk into the cafe and I'll have some kind of negative thought about somebody. Oh, that person has so much pride. Why are they wearing that? God, their voice is annoying. Okay. I think the point really is that it's a perfectionizing tool. We aren't perfect yet. So hopefully you won't do those things again, but maybe you will. And it's okay. It's not okay. I mean, karmically, it's not okay. You can restore that. You can do the 4 powers and you can confess it. Yes. But you don't lose your practice of perfectionizing just because you did something wrong. You may go to the lower realms for a long time. I don't know, but see, you gotta get the point. Like, it's not meant to be a guilt thing. It's not meant to be it's not, you're just because you took vows doesn't mean you're perfect. The reason you took vows is because you're not perfect. You see? So give yourself a little bit of credit that you want to do something to change. And then you'll fall every once in a while. Hold on a second. I gotta check something. Oh, cool. Hold on. I need to confirm something first. Okay, that's confirm it. Okay. So what's the result of keeping your vows? 2 results. One is that you will be born into a higher realm, a human realm or a higher realm. That's nice. Right? It keeps you from falling to the lower realms. For $50, what's the sign that you're never going to fall to a lower realm? I want it in Tibetan too. Francisco, happens before that. No, it's not the direct perception of emptiness. Yes, keeping the Vinaya, but there's an actual sign. It's not quite the pen, Persis. You're almost there. No, okay, bets off. It's the third path. It's the third part of the path of preparation. Mastery, Jorlam Su. For $25, what else does Su mean? Come on. Anastasia, are you trying to tell me without telling me? No.
No, I'm asking Roxana. Roxana, please help us.
Is Roxana in your house?
No, but she's here in the
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, so means patience. It means patience mostly, but sometimes it means mastery. All right. I saved all my money. Okay. So when you reach that level of mastery on the path of preparation, yes, I spell it. It's in the text above. Jor Lams. Oh, I should spell it out loud because people won't see this for lifetimes to come. All right, let's do that. Okay. I'm going to write it now. Can you guys see my board here? Yes, you can. This is for the future. Well, okay. Bigger. Nope. You kidding me? You gotta be kidding me. All right. Let's make it smaller size. There we go. There you go. For the future. Let's put this little arrow there too. Let's move you. Hello. All right, whatever. There you guys, you see it. Okay. There you go. Okay. So that's the third part of the path of preparation. When you reach that part in the path of preparation is when you won't fall to a lower realm ever again. Okay. Now, I didn't say that keeping your Vernaya vows won't. The Vinaya vows can result in a higher rebirth. I didn't say that. But if you want it guaranteed, that's when you have to get to that part of the path of preparation. Okay. So is the word for patience and mastery. Yes, Tracy. So that's one of the cool things. All right, that was just a total aside. And the other result of keeping your Prakti Moksha vows is you can achieve one of the three enlightenments. And what are the three enlightenments? There are three tracks: listener track, self-made Buddha track, and Mahayana track. And each one has their own enlightenment. Which one is complete enlightenment? For $0, the Mahayana. Thank you, Louisa. All right. Okay. Last thing here. So the last thing here is just kind of a fun aside. Jason Kappa, where does his name come from? Where does his name come from? Thank you, Laura. It's a river. It's a river called the Songchu. Chu is water. The song water. Okay. So he's from an area. It's called the Highlands of Songkha because of the Songkha River. So the Songchu passes through there. That's why he's called that. Similar to Choni Lama, right? Okay. Like the name of the teacher, like Phoenix Lama, that would be Geshe Michael. That's where he grew up, right? Anyway. So The last thing is then, let's talk about the name of his text. The Man from the Onion Fields. Huson Kappa? Maybe. But that's not what the text says today. Maybe it says that somewhere else. Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh Llama. That's why I didn't want to say it. Okay, anyway. So let's go through the title. Here's another Tibetan explanation. I promise you guys, you will learn Tibetan even if you don't want it. All right. Pittsburgh has an H at the end. Sorry. Okay. So let's go through the name. This is the name of Jason Kappa's book, which is called The Heart of, what is it called? The Heart of the Ocean of Discipline, or The Essence. Okay. So let's go through each of the words. First word, dula. All right. And we've already kind of talked about it. I lost my notes. Where are you? Okay. Is that it does two things. One is that it's about taming your mind, stopping the mental afflictions. And it's also the ability to control the sense powers, which is what I think is actually more, well, I mean, they're both important. You know, by controlling your behavior, you control your sense powers. Why? Why do you want to control your sense powers? So they don't control you, right? You know, because yeah, right, because you're planting, because if you have uncontrolled sense powers and you're just constantly planting bad seeds, you know, just being attracted to objects or attracted to people or attracted to things or wanting things or not wanting things. Like if you do them in an ignorant way, you know, then there's this issue. Like then you're just potentially planting all of these negative karmas. Like uncontrolled sense power. Tim sitting in a cafe. Pittsburgh Llama sitting in a cafe. No, stop. Don't do that, Tim. Tim sitting in a cafe. And someone walks in and he goes, and he starts undressing them in his mind. Okay. All right. Is that a bad seed? Well, there's lots of things that could be bad seeds in that moment. The person could be in a committed relationship. Now I'm imagining them without their clothes on and doing things with them, right? Well, that's kind of sexual misconduct, even if it's in my mind, right? Maybe the person's single. Oh, is it okay to undress someone in your mind because they're single? Well, no, that kind of requires consent, right? Maybe the person doesn't want you to undress them in your mind. Okay. Maybe they wouldn't like that. What if I mean, imagine if we just wore big signs that like describe what's going on in our mind all the time. Like person walks in, undressing you right now, right? Like, and they can be like, you know, how irritating would that be? How disrespectful that is, right? The person's just coming in to get coffee. And then everyone's like, right? Like, and don't tell me you haven't done it before. I mean, maybe you're better than me. Okay. But someone walks in and you're like, or even undressing is a lot, but even just like, ooh, you're like, right? like, is that consensual? Is it now? Okay, I'll go from a different point of view. What if someone walks in that's beautiful, and then you're like, what great seeds I have. I must have said nice things to people. I must have been kind to other people. I must have helped other people enjoy things. If somebody walks in and you enjoy it, and you go, what good seeds I have, right? Like, that energy is completely different than the undressing energy, right? And then if you want to undress them, then your mind goes, well, why do I have this desire to do this? You see, why do I want to do this? That's coming from a seed too. Investigate your past lives, folks. Get it? You want to undress that hot person that walked in? Why? Who were you in your past life? Now, is undressing someone a bad thing? Not from its own side. But is it polite? Like, people who lead with their sexual energy, it's intense, right? That's part of what the Vinaya, the freedom vows are about, controlling your senses. Like, it's not bad to see beautiful people. It's not bad to have a healthy sexual life. It's not bad. Like, there's no bad in it, right? But unless it's mutual, maybe the person is not like there's so many other things going on. If you could control your sexual desire and turn it on and turn it off when you want to, that's kind of cool. Like, people can feel when you arrive with that energy, whether consciously or not. They may not even be aware that they're feeling it, but they can feel it. And so what happens in an interaction when you're not leading, when you're not bringing that energy in, right? I mean, because, like, physical sex is, it is like, there's a, it's complicated, for people. You're merging bodies, you're doing things with people's bodies, right? Are you taking it? How's your intimacy? Like, these are all important questions. Like, what are how are you sharing that intimacy? Why are you sharing that intimacy? What do you hope to get from that intimacy? The good feelings of a sexual interaction are not coming from the sex, my friends. It's not, it can't. And if you ever had a bad sexual experience, then it's not the sex that causes it. It's not even the person. Now, there are conditions, of course, but those are different things. But what kind of sex do you want? What kind of intimacy do you want? Plant the seed. That's the answer. How do you treat if somebody walks in and you find them beautiful, like, how do you treat that person? Are they just a beautiful object for you to take? No. Well, some people think that, and that's why there's problems. What I normally do, this is how I protect myself, because I can't stop the seeds of the past life person, right? I can't stop those. But what I do is, first of all, I'm like, if I catch myself, I'm like, oh, good job, Tim. You did something nice that ripened in a good experience. Yes. Now, I don't sit there and go like this and like, like, but I'm like, yeah, okay, good. Like, that would be creepy. Like, but the other part then is, like, I then dedicate that experience to my future enlightenment. And then that cuts the root of all the mental afflictions for me. Do I want that body? Do I want that person? Is my sexual energy arising? Are they feeling it? Am I encroaching upon them? Do they want that? Do they not? Just don't even worry about it. Like, don't even go there. I'm dedicating that beauty that I just experienced and that good feeling that I got to my future enlightenment. Thank you. And then I look at the person and I'm like, you could be a Buddha who showed me the potential of a world full of complete bliss and enjoyable things. Thank you. And then I move on. Right. And I'm like, then everything moves on. So that's one way. So control the senses. That was a long, long thing about Dula. But let's get to the rest of it. The rest of it is here. So the second word is, well, the last word is, what order do I want to go in? Let's do the order of the Tibetan. Gyatso, what's Gyatso mean? Big water. Yes, an ocean, right? Right. So the idea that Doba Gyatso, the ocean of discipline, right? The ocean of Vinaya, the ocean of controlling your senses, is that the ocean is huge, right? The idea that the ocean is deep, it's expansive. And so there's so much to that it's actually difficult to understand and harness the completeness of the Vinaya, because it's like an ocean. The other part of an ocean that, at least in old Tibet, that they believed is that the ocean is a source of all jewels, that the bottom of the ocean has all the jewels that you can find. And so it is the source of all the precious jewels. This ocean is the source of all good qualities of nirvana and enlightenment. So this is another reason why Tsongkhapa chose this title, is because if you get this, if you get the individual freedom vows, it becomes the cause for everything else. Oh, but Tim, I don't have all the Bodhisattva vows, or Tim, I don't have all the tantric vows. I don't care. I do care. But without these, those other things are meaningless. They don't work. They can't work. So the most precious object in the ocean is even more precious than all the jewels. What they say is a wish-giving jewel. All right. And so the essence, the Ningpo, the essence of the ocean, the essence, if you were to wrap it all up into a nice package, are the vows. The vows are that package. They are the essence. The whole study of Vinaya is huge. The essence of it is just the vows themselves. Right? And if you can practice those, they become the source of all the good qualities that you can get. They become the source and the cause for all the other vows that you may get. And we've talked about this many times, is that the vows themselves, like the higher vows, are not, you don't forget the first ones because you have the higher ones. And in fact, in the Vajrayana system, 5 of the vows are making special efforts in the 5 lay person vows. So even the Vajrayana vows are like, oh yeah, don't forget, make special efforts not to kill, make special efforts not to steal, make special efforts not to engage in sexual misconduct. Some people seem to forget this. Make special efforts to not lie about your spiritual realizations, and make special efforts not to take intoxicants. Sorry. You don't get free from those things. But why would you want to? I don't know. You can think about it. All right. That's all for today. Next class, we're going to be going into the specifics of the 10 freedom vows, the 10 freedom virtues, both in their negative sense and in their positive sense. We're going to get deeper into the karmic correlations of those 10. And I think it's going to be a really, really powerful class, because then you can really decide, like, understand why they could be the source and the essence of achieving nirvana and enlightenment. So cool. Thank you all for joining. Thank you to all the translators. Thank you, Persis, for joining us. Thank you, Janine. And thanks to all the tech people for recording. I know it's a lot of work that you're all doing, so keep it up. So I'll see you guys on Thursday. Have a wonderful day. And as always, please say goodbye.
Bye, team. Thank
To all
you.
of us.
Thank you.
Merci.
Muchas gracias, Tim. Feliz día.
谢谢老师。
谢谢老师，再见。
谢谢老师，晚安。
Big Thai, tâm các bạn.
Thank you, teacher. Good night. Good morning. Feliz día. Gracias.
Have a nice day, everyone.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Ciao. Oh, wait, guys. Hold on. I can do it. Is it going to do it? Come on. Where's the little? No. Oh, it's not on. Hey, ACI team, turn on these special emojis, because you can do this and it makes a heart and it makes different things. Or maybe it's my fault. Hold on. It's just very important right now. Recognize hand gestures.
I think your heart don't look like a heart. Like this is not a heart. This
Oh,
is
come
a
on. Oh, no. There it is. Oh, there it goes. There, thank you. You're like, Tim, your heart is broken. You don't know what a heart looks like. This is how I feel about my heart.
Oh.
All right, we'll do it again. Thank you, guys. Let's see here. How was it? There it goes. Yeah. All right. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.